We're back here at the line. On Thursday, November 2nd, Regents of the University of New Mexico selected Garnet Stokes, PhD, as the new president. Dr. Stokes was chosen from a pool of 5 finalists, and she will be the first female president in the university's history. Tom, no small thing there. And I think back to the 5 choices that we did have. Did Dr. Stokes jump out at you as the number one possibility? I'm curious where you thought she
did
might have.
actually.
Oh, no kidding. Interesting.
Because
okay.
I like the University of the Missouri connection. I
Right.
thought that was really solid.
Okay.
She brought a lot of her A game in. I mean, all of them did. But it was just the fact that
She was, by the way, sorry to interrupt, she was Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Missouri, so everyone knows where she's coming from.
Yeah, and so I thought, I personally I was kind of pulling for her, but
Yeah.
I didn't have a vote. I didn't even have to talk about it until today.
Right.
So, but Dr. Stokes has a lot on her plate that she has to be able to address.
What's her first thing she has to attend to in your view?
Academics,
Okay.
plain and simple. She has to do what needs to be done to shore up the university side, and then move out onto the health sciences side, and then out to athletics. There's going to be kind of a desire. So, well, we're going to do athletics. Well, that's not her game.
Gotcha.
I think the doctor's game is purely on how do we shore up the university, and the timing of it all, though, is really good because she'll be coming on about March 1st, which is right in the middle of when a lot of students are deciding where they're going to go to school. So the fact that the university has an established leader going into that decision period for students, I think bodes very well for the university.
That's a good point. I appreciate that. By the way, we should thank Interim President Chowkey Abdallah for hanging in there and really keeping the ship going. Thank you, Chowkey. That was wonderful. Vic, Dr. Stokes, everybody, all 5 candidates came in and did a whirlwind through the university and the community, and it seemed like she was the runaway favorite for a lot of the folks that went to hear her speak. I don't know why that is, but I like this enthusiasm. We don't really get a lot of enthusiasm when people are coming in. Have you ever noticed that?
We need it.
Exactly.
We need
Just
it
something to
because
rally
she's
behind.
walking into a lot of politics, a lot of issues. We've got the accreditation issue. We've got a lot of professors that have been doing fabulous work and having to deal with the unknown for so long.
Right.
We've got the students. As Tom just mentioned, I think she's got a lot on her plate, and what she needs to do is listen.
Right.
Meet with people, talk to the people who are there on the ground, and not come in with a bunch of new policies or anything like that. It's like any organization, or, I always say this about new legislators: calm down your first session, kids, learn something.
Right.
And I think that's what she needs to do.
The classic listening tour, right? Just get out there and...
We have great administrators, we've got some great teachers, we've got students. She should get old school, have focus groups and, talk to different groups, find out what's going on, get a full map of everything, and then figure out, as Tom says, what we're going to do. That doesn't have to take forever. People talk about strategic planning, and no, you can get that done as quickly as you want to. But I think that the biggest mistake people make when they come in at the top somewhere is not listening to everybody that's there, because they're not going to have your back and help you implement your great plan if you haven't treated them like human beings.
That's a good point. And from someone that teaches at the university, you've gone through this a couple of laps now. Actually, you're fairly new. I should say. I take that back.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, right, exactly. What would you like to hear from this incoming president? Serge, what would you, if you had a chance to sit down with her, from Dr. Stokes, what would you like to hear right off the bat?
I would love for her to say, Serge, what are you trying to do, and how can I help you accomplish that?
Gotcha.
Right? And not come in and say, I've got this great plan, this agenda, here's what you're going to have to do, or whatever. Ideally, this is slightly facetious, but ideally I won't even notice that she's there, right? Because, there won't be distractions caused by the president. My interaction with our last president was confined to a big to-do about what my email was going to be, right?
Wow.
That really didn't help me do what I was trying to do, help me with my teaching, help me with my service.
I wouldn't think.
And my, all the other things that I'm trying to accomplish in my position at the university. So really, I would love for a professor to, as Vicki was saying, come in and try to listen to what I and my colleagues are doing. My colleagues are doing amazing things, and what we need from a leader.
Is it important to you, her background, meaning a vice chancellor and a provost? Does that ring your bell as opposed to something else? I mean, she's obviously been in the classroom. I know that's a big thing for teachers.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But does that work for you?
Yes,
that
no,
kind of background? Okay.
a professor. She was a professor and
Yeah.
has come in with the academic and institutional understandings about what goes on in universities. She's come from Florida State, where there was certainly plenty of upheaval while she was there.
Right.
Missouri has not been immune to that.
Sure.
She knows what's going on. I look at her history of publication and research. She's got a breadth of interests and publications,
Amazing.
and seems intellectually curious in the way that you would want a leader of a research institution to be, rather than come in as from a business standpoint, or trying to metricize everything.
Sure.
So I'm really excited that we chose somebody who is a university person, right? A research institution person who understands all the things we actually deal with here, rather than trying to, Silicon Valley-ize what we do at the
Which is happening across universities
Exactly,
across
yes.
the
So
country.
I was very
Exactly
concerned
right.
that might happen, and I'm delighted that Dr. Stokes will be coming to join.
That's a good point. I'll put that little bit you just did in a bottle. That was wonderful. That's a good way to kind of start off her reign here. We'll open that bottle in 4 years and see
Yes,
where it
yes.
all,
I'm
where it
back.
all
Let it
shakes out. Senator, what do you think? I mean, does this ring in your gut? Good choice here?
Yes, it does. Several things. One is I'm absolutely thrilled
Yeah.
to see that we finally have a woman president
Yes.
Amen.
of the university, of our flagship university.
Right.
I think that gives, there's always drawbacks to being the top position, being a woman, of what the challenge is given to her, not
Right.
originating from the president.
Right.
And that's where my concern lies.
I see.
I think on paper, she looks incredible. I love that the Midwest Missouri is the Midwest. I think that's kind of a stalwart, safe. We feel like out there in the middle of the cornfields and
point.
stuff, we feel like they are the country. They're not the East Coast
That's
or
right.
the West Coast.
That's right.
That's right.
They're the middle of the country. They're like us. And the other thing is having been at Florida State, that's a football powerhouse.
Right.
I think she will know how to, because she was acting provost or interim there, I think she will know how to deal with the problems she's inheriting in the athletic department. My only concern is what every president has faced is there are too many people making this political. There are too many people wanting to tell the president how to do their job.
Right.
I love the concept of listening and talking. The only group I would have added in there is also the business community.
Okay.
Not just restricting it to university
Sure.
people, but
Sure.
because the business community wants to help and participate.
Right.
But how do we make it work and let the president do their job?
Right.
And have some concerns about the willingness of the Board of Regents to legislators, perhaps.
For one group, for two groups.
For two groups, and others, perhaps even the faculty senate.
Right.
I just think we need to help instead of telling.
We really need someone, though, that sticks, don't we, in
We
this
do.
university?
Yes.
We really
Yes.
need, we can't, not with this carousel. It just can't continue. We have to have someone who can talk about our university and our state with enthusiasm, with credibility, and actually be an economic development draw. This position is very key for economic development here in our city
Absolutely.
as well. So this is a huge challenge.
Absolutely.
Big stuff. We'll cover this more as it goes on, and we thank her and congratulate her for being our new president. Thank you all very much. Good stuff on a Friday night.